Okay, so we have created this event brainstorm worksheet for you all, and I just wanted to give you a really quick explanation on how to use it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Okay, so we like to use Smokey the Bear the musical. It's a made-up musical that we did. It doesn't actually exist, but we use it for a lot of our examples. So in this example, you'll see under event, we would write Smokey the Bear the musical. We always like to put our revenue goal right up front because it's super important. And then we put the event date. It's going to be on 4/10 of 2025. And then we always do a marketing budget. A general rule of thumb is your marketing budget should be 15 to 17% of your revenue goal. Once we do that, we have a secondary goal. This is your why. So we all usually talk about revenue goal and you talk about how many tickets you want to sell and how much money you want to make, but there should be other reasons too of why you're doing this production, why you're putting on this event, and why it's important. So in this example, we are also raising awareness of fire safety. That is a secondary goal that we have. It needs to be a measurable goal. So we would probably then do a survey at the end to see if our audience members felt like they understood more about fire safety after watching Smokey the Bear, the musical. And then our other goal would be, let's say we're trying to collaborate with our fire department and we are going to raise some additional funds to give to the fire department to buy a new hose. I don't know, for something. So raising money for the fire department would be our third why. And then we just put in the announcement date. So this is a date that this is going to go public. So it's going to be on your website and all the information is going to start to roll out. We typically say it should be anywhere from 12 to 6 months. We're already past the 6 month, or we're already past the 12-month mark on this event. And so let's just go with 6, which would be 10/10 of 2024. 8 months out would have been 8/10, and that's typically when we'd like to see it, that 6 to 8 month out time frame, and 6 months out is 10/10, which is what we pick. 4 months out, you can follow along on all of that. The reason that we like to do this is because campaign time-wise, different and significant things happen on these timelines. And so it's nice to just have this on a calendar so you know, hey, I'm 6 months out from Smokey the Bear the musical. And so all the stuff that should be happening 6 months out should be happening in the middle of October. It's just a nice reference point. So then once you get to that, we like to brainstorm audience segments. And so this isn't just audience like, hey, all of our people that always come to our shows. This would be specific to this event. So because it's Smokey the Bear, we're going to say, you know, this show is probably appropriate for families, especially families with kids. It might be appropriate for animal rights groups or local firefighters, Boys and Girl Scouts, your Parks and Rec departments. So just kind of spending some time, just like 10 minutes and brainstorming who do we think would want to come to this show. And this is as we're creating content and as we're thinking through all of the things that need to happen and all the ways that we're going to talk to our audiences, we're keeping in mind that the audience segments might have some of these details. And we might want to speak to some of those details with some of these audiences. And then we always like to outline key partners. So this might be a key sponsor that you have. So if there's a non-flammable fabric that is sponsoring this show, then that would be a key partner. We also like to brainstorm other key partnerships, firefighters, a Parks and Rec department, the local government, and maybe REI and Dick's Sporting Goods because it has to do with outdoor. And maybe there's some type of collaboration that you can do with them. Key advertising. So this is outside of your normal advertising. So in this one, we might say, we're going to create a firefighter's calendar, or we're going to put a specific ad in a trade magazine that we wouldn't normally do just to call out these specific audience segments. Again, just some brainstorming ideas. And then we get down to interesting tidbits. So this is something that you would brainstorm things that might be interesting to these audience segments or just generally interesting to audiences. If it's a known show, if there's reviews or pull quotes that you can pull, if there's it won an award or it was nominated for an award. That's always great to know. If there was a famous actor that played one of the parts, that might be a good thing to know. In this case, our show is new, and so we don't have any of that. So we're capitalizing on Smokey the Bear. Is it Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear? That might be an interesting tidbit for people to learn. How old is Smokey? So why was Smokey created? And the person that's actually playing Smokey in Smokey the Bear the musical is actually the fire chief. Of course, I made that up, but something interesting like that. And then we always go into an if then, and this isn't necessarily public, although you can definitely put this on your website on the landing page for that show, but we like to have a comparison in our heads when we're talking through shows. So for this one, we might brainstorm a movie would be Backdraft. Not necessarily the same thing, and it doesn't match all the audience segments, but it's about fire, it's about firefighters. And so that might be a good connection. Into the Woods, again, outdoor, woods, not necessarily the same, but they're both musicals. Winnie the Pooh, Forest, Winnie, Bears, and musical, The Lion King. And then after that, we get into the foundations of our social media platforms. So these are foundation pillars. And I've outlined here, foundation one, we like to educate our community. So this would be where, fire safety happens, or the safety that is happening behind the scenes for the actors in the musical when it comes to fire. Is there live fire? Who's on hand to put out the fire if it happens at the show, like that kind of stuff. Like education can also be about the playwright, or about the director, or about who's putting the event together if it's not a show, all that stuff that's educating your audiences on some aspect. Entertaining is pillar two, and that would be once the show is live, the production photos, the musical the trailer. It might be, we love to do like renderings of the set to like production photos of the set, some of those types of ideas, but it's really there for entertainment purposes. The third pillar is connection. So this is connecting with your audience members, both online and in person. So this might be like the actors arriving to rehearsal and saying hi. It might be an actor sharing their character story and or their favorite part about, the show, or what they learned when they were doing it. A lot of times there's crossover between these pillars, but it really is helpful to kind of have these to start aligning your thoughts into. And then notice is just every time you're doing this, some random thing will pop up in your head that you won't want to forget. And so you'll just put it in there. Like, we know we're going to have a videographer here for the first rehearsal. So we have content captured as soon as rehearsals start. And then for the final dress, so we have production looking like content to capture. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us a chat or an email, and we will be happy to share those details with you. Thanks. I hope this helped.